Welcome to Fancounters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And before we start the show, I want to talk to you. Yep, you. Can you help us out? Can you go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review today? Sometime today. Just log on, review the podcast, let us know how we're doing. We'd really appreciate that.
It would be very helpful, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Elizabeth, did you have a good New Year's?
We did. We went to the Wave game.
Oh, that's your annual thing, right?
Yeah, that's what we do. Mm-hmm. And then this year, we invited some neighbors over to just kind of eat some hors d'oeuvres. But, you know, I'm old, and so...
Are you in bed before midnight?
Midnight comes about 10:30 at my house.
Geez. You don't even watch the ball fall from New
York?
Well,
it falls somewhere. No.
Oh, man.
No. How about you guys?
Well, I always have a party at my house.
Oh.
So it's always usually just family and a few friends and that kind of thing. I would have invited you, but you're in bed too early for this party.
No. We don't leave the house on New Year's Eve.
But we stayed up past midnight, and I actually try and get people to leave. My brother-in-law is famous for being in the bathroom at the end of the night.
Okay.
And we just always have to say, hey, are you doing okay in there?
Oh, golly.
Need any help? If you made a mess on the floor, you're cleaning it up.
Oh, no.
That's kind of the way it goes here. But yeah, good New Year's and looking forward to 2018.
Yeah, I'm excited for this year.
We're going to bring this podcast to a whole new level if people who said they were interested in being on the show are going to come and be on the show.
Oh, it'd be so great.
Yeah. And this week, we've got another young Hollywood star on the show today. If you made it to theaters over the holiday, you may have seen her in a movie called Daddy's Home 2. And what you might not know is Elizabeth and I have a movie theater chain here in Wisconsin that does awesome deals on Tuesdays.
That's right. So every Tuesday for $5 and free popcorn, we go to the movies.
Yeah, $5 and free popcorn. You cannot beat it. It's the best deal ever. So being the stay-at-home parents we are,
that's right.
We occasionally will take in a movie together.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm famous for going with my father-in-law to Tuesday night movies at around 10 o'clock.
Which I am long since in bed. So I go to the 9:15, 9:30 in the morning movies with a girlfriend of mine.
Yeah. And sometimes I take along.
Yes.
So Daddy's Home 2 was a movie that I saw with my wife's aunt, and it was so funny. I had to take my mother-in-law because she's not afraid to laugh out loud in the movies, and her cackle is just so loud and funny. It's actually hilarious to go to a funny movie with her, and I thought, I have to take her
fun.
to this movie.
I love that.
So if you don't know about it, Daddy's Home 2 starred Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell, John Lithgow, and Mel Gibson. And for me, it was a movie that had me laughing from beginning to end. And usually you see a movie that's a comedy and the first 30 minutes are real slapstick and funny, and the rest of it's kind of like, all right, been there, done that. But this one really was good from start to finish. So today our guest is Didi Costine, who plays Adriana in the film. She was also in the first movie. She is John Cena's daughter. Oh yeah, he's in that film too.
Didi is a Texas native who has been pursuing acting from a very young age. Her first film was The Prince, where she played the daughter of Bruce Willis. She has also worked with Halle Berry, Ethan Hawke, Margot Martindale, and John Krasinski. She also appears in an upcoming film, Blaze, directed by Ethan Hawke, about the life of a musician named Blaze Foley.
It's amazing to me, these young actresses. We talked with the twins a few weeks ago or whatever, and just how talented and well-spoken they are.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I'm really looking forward to seeing, what stories Didi can tell us. I mean, who can say that they've had fathers of Mark Wahlberg, John Cena, and Bruce Willis?
Yeah, let's go.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters, the podcast.
You're amazing. You need to come to Hollywood. I'm going to make you famous.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
There's just like security guards with like M16 holding like fans back.
Are you kidding me?
I continually will get stopped.
Can I take a picture? We're gonna. Oh my God!
I definitely declined signing body parts.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
I'm the only one that's ever spit on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Hello?
Hey, Didi, how are you?
Good.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Elizabeth and I love Daddy's Home 1 and 2, and we've got a lot of questions to ask you about that. But first, can you take us back to the start of your acting career? Like, when did you really first decide you wanted to pursue acting?
Well, I first wanted to pursue acting when I was about 7 or 6 years old. I thought I was acting my whole life, but then I realized I wasn't because my mom and dad and my sister were acting, so I just assumed I was already acting. So then I asked my dad when we were on the stairs at our old house, I was like, hey, can I be an actor? And he's like, are you sure that's what you want to do? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, okay.
And that was it, hey?
Started.
So you were born in College Station, Texas. How long did you live there?
I lived there for about 6 or 7 years.
So did you start acting in Texas before you moved to Louisiana?
Yes.
Okay. Just trying to figure out the timeline of everything.
Yeah.
Some of your hobbies and skills include gymnastics, ballet, piano. That's pretty normal stuff. But then we get into some interesting ones. The samba drum, stilt walking. Now, were these hobbies your idea?
No, they were my mom's idea because she's Dominican, and that's our culture.
Okay.
So she decided that would be a fun thing to get out of the house and get to know new people and do new things.
Cool. Well, what about stilt walking? I mean, that's a hobby I would never even have considered.
Well, stilt walking was, again, my mom's idea, but we did it in New Orleans, and she wanted to do it for us because, like, it was her culture, and she thought it was just going to be a fun thing to do, and you don't really have that many chances to do stilt walking. Like, that's not really a normal thing to do, so she thought it would be fun for us to get out and do it.
Awesome. Now, in Texas, you took some acting training with a coach that seems to have elevated a lot of young stars to some good careers. Tell us about what you found helpful in those early classes.
Well, I didn't really want to learn the lines when I was little. I just wanted to, like, know them. I didn't really want to learn them. I just wanted to, like, already know them.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get mad, and I was like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. But then she would, like, push me to do it, and I actually did it.
Excellent. Now, some of your first work, I'm thinking, were these commercials for Blue Cross Blue Shield. You did one for New Orleans Children's Hospital and McDonald's. Were those your first projects?
Yes.
Okay. What were those auditions like to get those roles?
Well, it's kind of funny because the first commercial I ever got it's a funny story because I went in and they made us dance, but I didn't want to dance. I was, like, kind of really scared, so I was, like, pinned to the wall, and my mom and my brother were all dancing, and my sister, and I was just, like, not dancing whatsoever. And it was really funny because then we went to the car. And my mom's like, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. And I'm like, okay. So then we left. And then, like, days later, I ended up getting the commercial.
Was the audition process, like, better or worse or scary? Or what were you thinking at the time?
I'm pretty sure I was scared because it was my first audition. And I felt like I wasn't a good dancer, or I didn't feel like I was going to get it anyway, so I was just like, I'm not going to dance, I'm too scared to.
So sometime around 2014, you landed a role in an episode of a short-lived CW TV series called Star-Crossed. What do you remember about doing that episode and walking onto, like, a television show set for the first time?
Well, I was kind of scared and nervous because that was my first TV show. But I was really scared. But once we got into the makeup, I was really excited because they got to put all these fake tattoos on my face to make me look like an alien.
Uh-huh.
I was looking at myself, I was like, ooh, I look really cool right now.
So that was a cool part, getting, like,
yes.
made up and all of that for the show.
Yeah.
Did you watch it after it aired?
Yes, we watched it after we aired. We didn't watch it every single time it went on, but we mainly watched the first couple of episodes, and then, yeah.
Okay, so you actually watched the show, like, before you did it?
No, that was the first season.
So they hadn't actually released any episodes by the time you taped your show?
Yeah.
Okay, so you really kind of didn't know what the story was about and all of that?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2014 got even better for you because you played Bruce Willis's daughter in The Prince, and now you're really used to working with A-list type of stars at this point. But back then, did you know who Bruce Willis was, or were you starstruck, or tell us about that?
No, I didn't know who he was at all. And my mom and dad didn't really want to tell me who he was because they didn't want me to, like, be starstruck about him or anything on set. They wanted me to act really professional. But my dad was very excited. He was more excited than me because I thought he was just a normal person.
Oh, I can imagine. Because when I saw that was your first role, I thought, oh, man, she's got to be freaking out about that. But not if you don't know who he is. So that movie was filmed in New Orleans. So I'm assuming that they were looking for local child talent to play the part. So do you remember how you got that role?
It was actually in Alabama.
Okay.
But I don't really remember how I got the role. I think I just auditioned with like tape and we sent it in, I think.
Okay. Acting runs in your family, and your parents are actors. You mentioned that a little bit early in the interview. So tell me about was this your decision? Is this something you wanted to do? Because I think it would be cool as an actor to be like, yeah, I want my kids to follow my footsteps, as it would if you or your parents had some other profession that they wanted to pass along.
Well, my mom kind of forced my dad to be an actor first when she was in college because he didn't want to do it at first, but then he realized that he actually wanted to do it. Then my sister joined in. I don't know if it was her decision or not, but I did choose because I saw that everyone was having a really fun time doing it, and my sister got to go to this desert for when she filmed Samira, I think. But yeah, and I realized, I want to travel. I want to do that fun stuff. So I asked, and they said, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, Isabella and Francisco are your siblings. They also have some acting careers. So are you guys competitive with each other?
No, we aren't competitive, but we joke about being competitive. We're like, oh, I'm going to get this role. We kind of just joke, but most of the time, if I get an audition and it's for a big part, my sister helps me read the lines and go over it, and I help my brother go over the lines and work on it.
That's awesome. So you help each other, and I'm assuming you mostly get along then?
Yes, we get along, but of course, brothers and sisters do fight, so yeah.
Of course. I have 5-year-old twin daughters, and they, especially during this Christmas break, they are at each other all the time, so I get that. So let's move ahead in some of your roles. Really interested to hear about this next story. I first learned of Margot Martindale during her role in the TV series The Millers. That's where I became familiar with her. And you shared some scenes with her in the film called The Hollers. And now your sister in the movie is your real-life sister, right?
Yes, she is. I thought it was really fun working with her because, I wasn't the only kid on set. And also, I was really surprised that Margot was from Texas because at the time I didn't know that many actors that came from Texas like me originally. So I thought it was really cool that she was from Texas and that we could be working with her. I also was really surprised to work with her because when I was little, I loved Hannah Montana, and she was from Hannah Montana. So I thought it was really cool to work with her.
Oh, that's so cool. So you'd seen her prior to that. So what was it like working with her? How embracing was she to you and welcoming and that kind of thing?
She was so nice. She was very kind. Also, after the movie wrapped, she had a party, and she cooked us fried catfish.
Ooh.
And it's really good.
So, and how was it working with your sister on set? That had to be pretty special.
Yes, it was very fun. I wasn't alone, so we would keep on, just wouldn't bore ourselves to death. We would just kind of, play games, little hand games or something. And it was really fun.
Because there could be a lot of downtime on a set. I know that for sure. And one of the neat things, we talked about this director that I know, Michael Pfeiffer. He does a lot of made-for-TV movies. He actually intentionally puts his son in a movie almost every year, so that it's kind of like watching him grow up over time on the screen. So it's kind of like what you've been doing, because you've been doing shows and movies now for quite some time. I'm sure you're going to do a lot more where you'll get to kind of watch yourself grow up on screen, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Daddy's Home 2. I've seen the movie twice, and I usually don't think that the sequels are better than originals, but In this case, I really think that the writers and the cast and everybody really upped their game. I just felt like it was a better script. It was better executed, and you guys did an awesome job. So what was different for you filming the first versus the second?
Well, filming the second one was different from the first one because I got to know the cast better, especially Scarlett and Owen, who played Megan and Dylan in the movie. But it was really fun to see everyone, how different I saw them from the first one. Because the first one I thought them as like people that I knew, but now this one made me think of them as friends, like close friends.
There's probably like a big reunion of welcome
Yes.
back. Did you always know that there was going to be a sequel?
No, I didn't. But I mean, like I had an assumption that there was going to be one, but I didn't think I was going to be in it because I had such a short like role. I wouldn't think that they would cast me back in it. But it was funny because they actually made me audition for it again to see if I was good enough for the role.
No way.
And then once I got it, I was like jumping up and down. I was so happy.
Wow, that's surprising. So
Yeah.
what was the call like when you were told you had the role for the sequel? What was your reaction?
After we sat in the audition, I kept on talking to my mom like, did I get it? Did I get it? Did I get it? She was like, no, we haven't heard anything. And I was like, can you ask the agent if I got it? If I got it? And she's like, no, Didi, we haven't heard anything. Be patient.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So once I finally got it, I was so excited. And I was just like so like surprised and so happy.
Awesome. Well, we're always trying to give our audience a little inside scoop as to how things work in the industry. So how soon after you were notified that you got the role did you get a script? And then how long after that did you start filming?
Well, it was about a week. Then we got the script. And then after that, it was about like a month after. Then they started filming. But it was funny because I actually got a role, but we actually had to cancel it for Daddy's Home.
Oh, I would have probably canceled it too, because that's a good opportunity. What were you doing in the meantime? Obviously, probably running your lines as much as possible.
Yeah, I actually was reading the script for a very long time, and I think it was actually during the weekend when I was going over it, because they gave it to me over the weekend. So I would just keep on going over it and over it and over it. And it was very hard because I couldn't really tell my friends. I could only tell them like where I was going.
But not what for or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your process for learning lines? What do you find most effective?
Well, I actually read it over a bunch of times. Then I go over it and then I put the script away. And then I try to go over the script on how it goes and stuff. And then I sleep on it. And it actually helps because when I sleep on it, it processes it through my brain and stuff. So then when I wake up, I kind of just already kind of know it.
Where did you film Daddy's Home 2? Where did that mostly take place?
Well, it took place in Boston, Massachusetts for about 2.5 months.
Okay. And was this filmed in the wintertime?
Yes, it was in the wintertime, but it was kind of like in the end of wintertime.
Okay.
It's kind of weird to think about because it kind of messed me up because we were filming a Christmas movie, but it wasn't Christmas, but it was snowing. So it kind of filmed in like March and April.
Okay.
So I was kind of confused.
Now, we talked about how you spend that month between getting the script and filming, but do you go to rehearsals at this point, or are there some table reads with the cast before you start filming, or how do you get ready for the scenes?
We had a week to do only rehearsals and table reads. So that week before, the director, Sean, he would have us go into this room and rehearse all of our scenes because it would be better to rehearse them than the day before or the day of. Mm-hmm. So we just go over there, rehearse it like one time, go over it, and then we can just go ahead and do the scene so it goes quicker that way. Okay. And it comes out like we already know it just like that. So it's actually, they just had a week for us to practice it and everything.
Are you, I'm assuming that during the blocking of the film that the main actors, like the Will Ferrells and the Mel Gibsons, do they have stand-ins for them? And like, do you have a stand-in for blocking and camera movement and then you just take over, or?
Actually, yeah, they have 2 stand-in for everyone. They have one that actually looks like them. The kids have 2, I'm pretty sure, because there's one that makes it like that's our height, and then there's someone that looks like us.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure for the adults, they have only one.
Okay, now I'm sure you would hang out with your other castmates, the kids, but would you hang out with the stand-ins and that kind of thing too?
Yeah, we actually had one kid and one adult. So they were really fun to work with, and they were very fun and funny.
Very nice. Now, was Adriana always the name in the script? Because that's your real given name, right?
Yeah, it was actually when we got there, the first day of filming Daddy's Home 1, they were like, "What's your name?" And I said Adriana. So if I would have said Didi, they would have put my name as Didi maybe. But I said Adriana. So then they were like, because they didn't have a name for it, because it was kind of like a last minute thing that they put in. They were like, "Oh, this would be funny if we had this person, like a person come in and be the stepdaughter." So then they were like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I was like, Adriana. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's perfect." And then they just used it.
Oh, and I think for the second one, the stepdaughter role worked it really well because you provided some good conflict. How similar are you to your character in the film?
Well, I do go on electronics a lot. I mean, I don't go as much as Adriana, trust me.
So you don't have a texting addiction?
I'm not that much like her. I mean, yeah, sometimes I can get a little bit bratty. I mean, everyone can. But I don't think I am.
She's looking. Okay. That's funny. So we tape our show in Milwaukee. We get snow all the time. It was almost magical because right on Christmas Eve, the night before, it snowed, and it was like, what? Where did for those of us who have to snowplow, it's not a great thing. But I heard during one of your interviews that your first experience with snow happened while you were filming Daddy's Home 2. Is that really true? And was it fake snow or was it really real snow?
Actually, when I got there to Boston, there was a blizzard going on in the middle of it, and that was like my actual first time seeing snow. I mean, like, I lived in Texas, and it kind of did snow there, but it was mostly like ice.
Okay.
But actually on set, there was fake snow and there was actual snow, so they would make their own snow and with like those big blocks of ice in that machine, which was actual snow, but didn't fall from the sky. Then for the snowball scene, they had me throw a real snowball, and then they had me throw a fake snowball for practice.
Now, I have a lot of favorite scenes in that film, but the one that sticks out in my head is when you're turning that thermostat up to 85 degrees because you like to sleep with your windows open, which was really funny. Who controls the thermostat at your house?
My mom and my dad does. Mostly my mom, because she gets very cold, but my dad gets really hot.
Okay.
So he puts it really cold, but then my mom changes it to be really hot. And it's just, oh my God, it's so much confusing.
But it's like hands off for the kids, right?
Yeah. We tell them to turn it down and stuff, and they'll be like, okay, maybe.
Let's talk about some of your co-stars in this film. Will Ferrell is a comedic genius on scene, and the amount of laughs that he brings in this film reminds me of how good he was in Elf. But once the director yells cut, what's it really like to be around Will Ferrell?
It's really fun to be around him. He's really funny. He still says like lots of jokes. Like some actors are funny on set, but not as funny in real life. But Will is. It's really cool.
Okay, yeah, because I've heard a lot of comedic actors can be somewhat insecure, where they're not sure if they're funny or not, because you're not getting that laugh immediately. Because when you've heard the line 50 times, it's not so funny anymore. But they still carry it off really well. What was your favorite scene in the movie?
My favorite scene is probably the snowball scene because I just get to snow snowballs right at Owen. It was really funny.
Any funny things happen that the camera didn't catch while you were filming?
Yes, it was also really fun. So when we shot the Christmas tree, when it lit up, there was a pine cone. And Mel would throw us the pine cone, and we would have to pretend like the pine cone is a bomb, and we would have to see who has like the best reaction of the bomb blowing up.
I want to ask you about that memorable scene at the end of the movie. And since the air date of the show is most likely going to be after the film is out of theaters, I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. At least I don't think so. So if you think it's going to get ruined for you, skip ahead a couple minutes. But you had an awkward kiss in the movie with your on-screen brother. Now, when you read that in the script, were you nervous about that, or was it sort of no big deal?
Yeah, I was nervous, but I didn't realize I was going to be kissing Owen.
Okay.
Because I kind of skipped that scene because I didn't really want to read it.
Yeah.
I didn't really know I was going to be kissing Owen. I thought I was going to be kissing a random person.
Was that your first on-screen kiss?
Yes. Okay. And, yeah, kiss.
Now, when you actually had to do it, talk to us about, like, how did they prep you? And, I mean, that's got to be a really nervous thing. You have all these people standing around watching you, not only the crew that you've been working with, but there's a ton of extras there.
Yeah, there was a ton of extras there because that was the last scene of the film, how there was a bunch of people. All of those people were behind the camera. Well, most of them were. Mm-hmm. And, like, everyone was watching. It was very awkward. Her parents were watching from the TV monitor. I can't see it.
Yeah.
Monitors. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like for Owen? We kind of heard what it's like for you. What was he thinking?
It was just awkward for both of us. We kept on laughing because we thought it was funny. But it was just very awkward for both of us. And then Scarlett would be like, ooh, kissy, kissy.
John Lithgow describes Mel Gibson as a fun guy with a big, generous heart. But his role in the film is much like the Grinch. Now, off camera, he seems like he enjoyed being around all of you guys. There was some behind-the-scenes footage on the internet about you guys goofing around. He was giving you bowling lessons. Tell us a little bit about what it was like working with Mel Gibson.
It was so fun working with Mel Gibson. He was so nice. He would actually eat lunch with us on set. His daughter actually came over with us on set sometimes, and we would play games because they had a film by the church.
Okay.
And we went inside the church and it was so fun because he had like bouncy balls and stuff like that, and we would just like all play tag, dodgeball, and stuff like that, and it was so fun.
So he's a cool guy to hang out with even.
He's a very cool guy.
Awesome. Let's also talk about your dad in the film, John Cena. He plays a protective dad in the film, and he's very tough. But I watched a lot of interviews getting prepped for this, and he seems like he's really fun. So what side of John Cena do you like?
I like his funny and nice side the most.
Okay.
Because he's really funny and, like, nice. We actually, in the first movie, we actually made a handshake up with him, and it was really funny.
Did you do any, like, bonding experiences with the dads in the film before rolling started?
No, we kind of all just got along right away. It was really cool.
What about the first movie? Was there something to help you guys get acquainted when you first got together?
No, we kind of just, before the scene, we were just like, hey, I'm Didi, and they're like, hey, and then we just started the scene, and we had to act natural.
Okay. Watching interviews with the Daddy's Home cast, some of the guys are already speaking about Daddy's Home 3. Have you heard any news, and is that happening?
We don't know yet. I hope, fingers crossed, there will be a third.
I hope so, too.
But it's mostly up to the viewers.
And the sales, I think the box office has done well, so hopefully we will see a number 3. You attended the premiere of the film. Did you bring your whole family to the premiere?
Yes, I did bring my whole family, but my sister and Scarlett's sister were kind of Snapchatting me and stuff. They're like, oh, I'm so proud of her and stuff, and it was really funny.
Aww. What was your parents' reaction to the film? Now, obviously, they were probably sitting watching most of the filming, but once it was put together?
Well, my mom was laughing the whole time, and it was really funny to see her reaction because she was just sitting there eating popcorn like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Even though she read the script and she knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
She was still laughing like so hard. But we saw the movie before the premiere too, but my mom wasn't there because she had to go to work.
Okay.
But my dad was still laughing even though he saw it so many times already.
What about your family? What's the reaction from your family members? And what was Christmas like having had this big movie come out right at the same time?
When I was at the premiere, my sister was right there, and I was talking to her the whole time. She's just like, be quiet, I'm trying to watch the movie. And I'm just like talking to her the whole time. It was really funny.
But what about your extended family? Like aunts? You have aunts and uncles or anything like that? I mean,
No, because most of them live in Texas. My dad's side lives in Texas, and my mom's side lives in Dominican Republic. So we just decided to stay in California this year. But also for a Christmas Eve party, we went to Scarlett's grandparents' house because we're all very close.
okay.
We went there and we spent Christmas Eve together.
What was the best part of that premiere night for you?
Probably the after party, because there would be this creepy elevator, and when it goes underground, it would like take a second to open up. And I called Owen saying that, oh my God, the service is bad, and I was like, and then I ended it. But then he was like, oh no, meet me downstairs. I'm like, okay. So we went down the stairs, and he actually knew what I was doing the whole time.
Okay.
So then I went downstairs, and he scared me so bad.
Like when the elevator opened?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, our show's called Fancounters, so we're always asking our guests about their encounters with their fans. So can you tell us about some fan encounters that have been memorable to you?
Well, my first encounter at the mall, it was my first one ever, and they followed me from the van store to another store, and then they were like, are you the girl from Daddy's home? I'm like, yeah, and they're like, I knew it. And then I just slowly walked away. I was just like, and then I just started walking away slowly.
So they didn't ask for an autograph or a picture or anything? They were just kind of...
No, I just walked away.
Oh, wow. Has anything else happened, that's been memorable for you or weird, or, do you get weird gifts from your fans or anything like that?
Actually, someone sent me a picture on Instagram of a picture of me on my phone, and it says, you're not my dad at the top, which is really cool.
Okay. So you've had pretty good fan experiences so far.
Yes.
Okay. What about like press for the movie with interviews and stuff? How nervous are you, and what are those like for you? Is it kind of a surreal, weird experience?
Yeah, it's weird because I'll be like, why do they want an interview with me? That's kind of weird.
Well, like this one. But we're glad that you came on, because sometimes, we interview a lot of adults, and it's like, what is it like for a kid to be in Hollywood, being in one of the top movies of the year?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to know about that stuff. So thanks for being here. So are you in school, or are you homeschooled, and are your siblings in school, and how does that all work?
My siblings are in school. I'm also in school,
okay.
And normal school, not homeschool. But it's kind of funny because I was actually in the newspaper for school, and now everybody knows who I am in school. And it's kind of weird because everyone just stares at me while I walk, and I'm just like, hello.
Oh, you're like, it's still just me. I'm the same person.
Just me.
Do you worry that some people might want to be friends with you, because of your career and your success?
A little bit, but in the beginning of school, I wouldn't tell people if I was in a movie or anything until the movie was close to coming out.
Okay.
So I would try to get to know them first, and I wanted to get to know them because I wouldn't want them to be my friends just because I'm in a movie, because that would be really weird.
Right.
To be with your friend your whole life, and then you noticed, oh, they're just with you because you're in a movie. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's true. Now, did you, there are stories of former child stars who talk about when they would return to school following a hiatus or something, and that they get bullied. Have you dealt with any kids picking on you, or just weird comments from kids that you're like?
No, not really, because when I came back from Daddy's Home 2, I still lived in New Orleans, and the people at my school were family to me because I knew them since first grade. So then when they came back, they're like, oh, I didn't know you would remember me.
Aw.
What's my name?
They're testing you.
I know.
So you're in LA now, though.
Yes.
Have you lived there long?
Only about 6 months.
Ah, okay. And probably to continue furthering your pursuits of acting and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. So Daddy's Home 2, I think, is going to be a Christmas classic for a long time. But what Christmas movies are your favorites?
My Christmas favorite movie is the Santa Claus series from Disney.
With Tim Allen.
Also, The Grinch.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The Jim Carrey one or the cartoon one?
What?
The Jim Carrey one or the cartoon one?
Jim Carrey.
Excellent. Okay.
Gremlins.
Oh, I love Gremlins. See,
I don't know if this counts as a Christmas thing, but Stranger Things, because there was an episode of Christmas in it.
Yeah. Oh, so you're watching Stranger Things. Did you finish the second season?
Yes, I keep on watching it still.
Nice. Okay. See, I haven't seen the second season yet, but every actor and singer that we've been interviewing and asking, what are you watching? Stranger Things comes up every single time.
Watching.
What about other TV shows that you're watching? What's on your DVR?
Right now I'm watching Scream on Netflix. I'm still watching Stranger Things. I'm just keep on watching it over again.
Mm-hmm.
What else am I watching? We also watch a lot of movies together.
Okay.
I know me and my mom just got watching the Cinderella story. There we go. We just got finished watching the Cinderella story.
Okay.
And I also love watching Star Wars.
So I wanted to talk about Star Wars because you posted a picture, I think it was on Instagram, of you in a costume for Star Wars. Did you wear that to the movie?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I think we actually lost it, sadly. But my dad actually sewed that from hand. And, we didn't have that much time because it was for a Mardi Gras parade in New Orleans called Chewbacca's. And it's a sci-fi parade, and everyone dresses up there. And so then he just got some safety pins, and then he just put it all together, and it was really fun and really cool.
Wow. First of all, I want to jump back to Gremlins because kudos to your dad and mom for making you watch that. That movie, I love that movie. So the classic shows like that are great. So Star Wars, casual fans liked it. Hardcore fans did not. Where did you fall?
I loved it. I like any Star Wars movies. I mean, Rogue One kind of was like, but I did like all of them. It was just really cool for me. I was talking again. I'm not silent when it comes to the movie theater. I'm the worst person to bring to a movie theater with. I just talk the whole time.
You'll talk to the screen?
No, I just talk to my friends the whole time during the whole thing. I say oh, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen, but then it never ends up happening. I'm just oh, I regret that I said that.
So with Christmas that we just had, what was the best gift you got for Christmas?
Probably horseback riding lessons.
Ah.
And I really want to do horseback riding lessons for a very long time. Because I always go on those rides of horseback riding, but they never teach you how to do it, and it kind of gets boring. You're just sitting there, not doing anything.
Okay.
But if you actually get to know how to do it, I bet it would be fun.
So my twin 5-year-old daughters got tablets from their grandpa for Christmas. So let's talk about real life in your house. Do your parents limit your screen time, or are you guys good at monitoring that yourself?
We're kind of good at doing it ourselves. We actually like doing outdoors stuff. So we'll go on our phones and stuff, but we don't do it till we're not getting up or not doing anything.
Okay.
But I feel the people that use their cell phones the most is our parents.
Okay.
Well, and I was just
well, they're helping manage you, so they have a reason. They could always say, I'm doing it for your benefit.
I know. I keep on seeing my mom on her phone. I'm why are you on your phone? She's it's for work, but she's not on work.
So what about around the house? Do you guys, you're a normal kid. You got chores and things like that? What are your chores?
Dishes, laundry, clean up room, sweep the floors.
There you go. See, just like everybody else.
Dog, clean the dog, feed the dog, water the dog, normal stuff.
What's your dog's name?
Her name is Bridget, and she's a little Yorkie.
Oh, is that your only family pet?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, actually, we have a cat in Texas. His name is Louie. He's really fat. He's been a country cat his whole life, so we didn't want to bring him to California where the city is.
Uh-huh.
So we just kept him in Texas with my grandma and grandpa.
Oh, okay. So we have the new year that just passed. So tell me about, do you make resolutions or do you have any goals for 2018 that you want to tell us about?
I used to set goals, but then I would forget about them.
Okay.
Now I'm just like, do good this year.
Do good. You should, a lot of people put them up by their mirror, then they have to look at them every day.
Yeah, I don't do that.
What do you do for fun that isn't related to acting?
I like to cook. I like to ride my bike around. I like to spend time with friends and family. I actually do wood shop at school, which is really fun. I also like making slime, doing crafts, baking, and normal kid girly stuff.
Okay. Cooking. What dish do you like to make the most?
I like to make cake, brownies.
Okay.
I like making cupcakes, but I'm not good at it, so.
Okay. And what about wood shop? What do you make there?
I actually have a napkin holder, a piggy bank. I also have a bird feeder.
I know that you have a YouTube channel and you've made some slime and you've done tutorials on that, so that looks like fun. But you haven't been active on it. Is that something that you're going to try to give your fans more like insight into, your life and that kind of thing, or what's the goal of the YouTube channel?
Yeah, actually, I actually have videos lined up to be posted, but my MacBook doesn't have the I have to have an adapter for it, and my adapter broke.
Ah.
And we haven't gone to go get one yet, so hopefully we get one soon, or the other one gets fixed.
What famous person would you love to meet?
This is probably going to be the most basic thing ever, but anyone from Stranger Things, I'm okay with.
Okay.
Like, dying.
Have you met somebody that you freaked out about, where you're like, oh my God, it's so-and-so?
No, I don't think so. Oh, wait, yep.
Okay, do tell.
When I was little, when I filmed The Haulers, she was in it, and I was freaking out. And I was so scared that I ended up not talking to her.
Who is that?
Anna Kendrick.
Oh, really?
I was little.
So you liked her so much that you wouldn't even get up the guts to say anything?
I was so scared.
Oh, that's funny. So you've got a film coming out, I believe, this year, 2018, called Blaze. So can you tell us a little bit about that role in the film?
Well, I don't really know that much about it. I know that Blaze, the movie, is based off of a songwriter. But my part was very little.
Okay.
I know I was there for about 2 or 3 days, something like that. But I know if you want to go see it, it's coming up soon.
So tell us where we can find you on social media if people want to follow you.
You can find me on Instagram, Didi Costine normally. Twitter, Didi Costine normally. Musically, which is Didi Costine 2, I believe. And then Snapchat, which is D Costine 1.
Do you have any projects coming up that we don't know about?
Oh yeah, the fair episode that's coming out. I don't know what episode it is, but I know I did the affair.
Okay.
Which was, I filmed that about 2 months ago, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And it's coming out soon, I believe.
Thank you so much, Didi, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, is your dad right there?
Yes, he's right there.
Dustin, do you want to come on for a few questions about...
Yeah, sure.
We would love that. This is Dustin. Thanks for letting Didi come on the show. I know sometimes with interviews, you're like, well, we don't know what they're going to ask and how comfortable and all of that. So, but it seems like she's got this, interview thing down.
Yeah, she does really great with it, and we really appreciate you having her on. She did a lot of interviews with the PR people on set, but a lot of it just comes from her answering the questions naturally and, answering how she would like. I'm really proud of her in that way because, as far as acting, you can prepare for that and you can, train for that and, you practice and rehearse. But for interviews, once she's on there, she's pretty much, on her own.
Yep. And you know, we do edit these things down a little bit to, you know, if an answer took a little time or whatever, but she did awesome. There's not going to be a lot of that. But talk a little bit about to us. I've always been curious, somebody who's got a child in the spotlight, it seems like you did a good job keeping her grounded. You know, we asked about chores and things like that. So, you know, talk a little bit about how you have done that with all of your kids who have been in the spotlight doing big projects.
Yeah. It's been like, you know, like I have a lot of other parents and people that ask me that question or how to keep their kids grounded. And I actually taught child actors in New Orleans for 2 years. And one thing I told the parents, and I would tell them on day one, that's something that's very important for your child as an actor is if they're going to be cast in a movie or a television show, they're going to get cast to play a kid. That's what they're going to be. They're going to be a kid.
Yep.
So it's very important to make sure that they have a life as a child, not only for, you know, their health and for their future health, but also so that they can accurately depict, you know, that role. I mean, I would have some parents come in and they would have their child in some different class or some different, you know, modeling, tap dancing, piano, like every single day nonstop. And they would end up being the ones who would, you know, in a way be the least able to play a child because they weren't having the life of a child. And as far as like having their expectations, like whenever, like we don't, it's funny because we all act, and I guess it's because we're so busy, but we don't watch a lot of television, not compared to what most people watch.
Sure.
So other than like, you know, when they were smaller, you know, they watched a little bit of Disney or Nickelodeon, but that was about it. So, you know, they've mostly acted and auditioned for dramatic things or adult comedies because we were living in New Orleans and acting out of the Southeast. So it wasn't like they were getting a lot of, you know, Disney shows or Nickelodeon.
Right.
So when they would go on set, like they have no idea, you know, especially from being little, not watching a lot of movies. I remember, you know, Didi, when she acted with Bruce Willis, I mean, he was just another old guy.
That's what I wondered. Yeah.
Who he was. My other daughter, Isabella, she had like a callback where she had to act with, oh my goodness, the name's going to escape me for a second. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Forrest Whitaker.
Oh, okay. Another big name.
And this is when she was real small. She was about 5 or 6, and she went to the callback with Forrest. It was right after The Last King of Scotland. He had won the Oscar for it, and he had acted with her and did a pretty good job. And on the way home, she was talking. You know, Isabella was talking to my wife, saying like, Forrest is playing the Poppy in the movie. Has he ever done anything? You know, and he just won. He just won the Oscar. So yeah, we try to keep our life as normal as you know, as normal and grounded as possible. I mean, we're actors, and we really enjoy doing it. But at the same time, I don't treat her acting in Daddy's Home 2 any different than I treated, you know, my son playing Little League Baseball.
Okay.
You know, I teach him to take it serious, have a good time, but, you know, we treat each one equally. You know, like when my son plays, he does very well. We're very proud of him. When they act in something, it's the same way. So it's not like, oh my gosh, you're doing, it's just like, oh, you made a movie, that's great. You know, just like, when they, you know, do well in school or whenever they play baseball or any other thing that we do in life.
Talk a little bit about, I'm just really curious about the auditions and how you balance work and, you know, school life with her work life and, or any of your kids. How much time do they take out to do auditioning, and, you know, how does that affect stuff?
We try, we try to work with our agents and the casting directors as much as possible to have the auditions after school. So in New Orleans, you know, New Orleans is a much smaller city than Los Angeles, so that was almost always a case because, you know, they could have an audition at 3:45, they get at 3, we could be there, no problem. Here in Los Angeles, it's been a little bit more difficult because of traffic and the size of the city. But in general, most of our auditions are 3 or later. So even if she has to miss school, it's maybe only about 45 minutes to an hour at the most.
Okay.
So the biggest issue coming up with school is whenever she has to work or when any of them have to work. So, but, SAG has rules for that in California, and most states do. I know California, Louisiana, they both have really strong child entertainment laws that give the schools credit as if the kid was there, so they don't miss out on any of their funding while the children are working in the entertainment business for whatever time. And then SAG makes sure that there is a state certified teacher there on set so they still do their schooling. And actually with Didi, when she was on Daddy's Home, I would have to communicate with her teacher back in New Orleans on a weekly basis to get her work, get what they're doing.
Okay.
And then between myself and the set teacher, she would have to get that work completed during the week. And she actually worked really hard. I was very proud of her because being in Boston and working on a movie is very exciting. I mean, it's very exciting. It's almost like she's on vacation. You get to go do this really fun thing. She's hanging out with Scarlett and Owen all the time in the same hotel, so they're having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she would have all the schoolwork that she would have to do. And on set, they have 4 hours for school and 4 hours for work.
Okay.
So she would do as much as she could during those 4 hours on set, but a lot of the times she wouldn't be able to complete everything that was given to her in that time, so that we'd be still working at the hotel either at night or on the weekends on her off days. And she did work a little begrudgingly, but she did work very hard towards getting that done and making sure that her schooling was taken care of while she was doing this movie.
Cool. 2 more questions and I'll let you go. What about for you and your wife as far as walking on set of Daddy's Home and Daddy's Home 2 with these A-list stars that we've discussed during the interview? What was it like for you? Were you freaking out a little bit?
No. Actually, I was pretty comfortable the first time we walked on. I had roles in both of The Campaign and Get Hard with Will Ferrell.
Okay.
So we were already acquaintances, and we had I'd acted several times. She had been on sets, so we feel real comfortable on set. I remember it was kind of funny because we went for the first day of Daddy's Home 1, and we walk on set and. Didi goes up, she's talking to the director, and while she's talking to the director the first time, Will's there, and he sees me, comes over, he's like, "Hey, man, hey, Dustin, what are you doing? What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, this is my daughter, Didi. She's acting today." He's like, "Oh, that's so wonderful." And then we started talking. Will's a really great guy. And he's also a guy that never forgets you, which is something that is really special. A funny story that I tell people with him is, I worked on The Campaign in 2012. I worked with him for a day, and he was awesome, amazing guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years later, I get booked in Get Hard. And I'm not sure if you've seen that movie.
I have. I've seen, but yeah, I'm a Will Ferrell fan, so.
Yeah. Well, in The Campaign, I was a cop that he steals my cop car, when he's drunk driving, and then I ask him to get out of the car, and then he runs away, and I chase him, and he steals a cop car. I had that scene with him. And then in Get Hard, I was one of the skinheads, the white nationalist skinheads where he tries to buy protection.
Okay.
I remember when he was coming in for Get Hard, we went straight into rehearsal, and we're supposed to be real tough, real mean, kind of picking on him. He comes in for rehearsal, and he hands us money over that's supposed to be his protection money, and one of my friends who's an actress, Raiden, she's playing one of the other white nationalists, and she's counting the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're kind of like just standing there staring at him real meanly. And he puts out his hand to me because, he's playing this really nice businessman guy. He puts out, he's like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And at that point, I didn't know. I was like, are we in character? Are we not in character? Is this rehearsal? Is he, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I thought there's no way he'd remember me from, 2 years before. So I just looked down at his hand, and then I looked back at his face real meanly. He's like, "Oh, I guess we're staying in character." and then after cut, I was like, "Hey," he's like, "Hey, Dustin." It's like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" So we, I was very, impressed that, he remembers this day player from 2 years before. And, we reconnected and talked a little bit. And then it wasn't 4 months later that we were on Daddy's Home 1. So, talked with him then, and then it was the same thing. for Daddy's Home 2 whenever we got there. He remembered Didi. He talked to Didi first day, came up, talked to me, and he's a really amazing guy. All the other cast in Daddy's Home 2, the people that maybe we didn't know as well, were also extremely nice and welcoming. And a lot of them had kids too, which made it easy. Like Alessandra plays Didi's mother in Daddy's Home 2. Well, she has an 8-year-old daughter, Anja, and a 4-year-old son, Noah. So they would hang out at the hotel and all the kids would play together and we'd spend time with them. Like she was saying, Mel Gibson's daughter Lucy would be there and they'd be playing and everybody was really down to earth. Linda has a daughter that was there and she would come and play. And so they were all like, even Mark, who to prepare, he keeps to himself a lot. That's just part of his process, not, necessarily
his personality. Yeah.
Yeah. He has, they have a lot of work to do when they have roles that big, but he was still super nice, say hi. I mean, everybody, I think that's one reason why the Daddy's Home movies have done so well is because of the chemistry that the cast and that crew have together. Whenever they're not acting, they're still, it's still a really amazing time. Everybody was super nice. So, and they got along together well. So I think that really helps when you're making a movie that everybody is that down to earth and that, that nice to one another.
Very cool. Lastly, I was wondering about your move. If you just moved to LA 6 months ago?
Yes, sir.
And was it obviously it was for all of the careers that you guys have in acting. But what was that decision process like to leave Louisiana and, come to LA?
Well, it was something that we had been talking about for a long time, even before she booked Daddy's Home. Like we're originally from Texas. My wife is from the Dominican Republic, but, we met in college.
Okay.
And we had lived in Texas almost the entire time. And we actually moved to New Orleans in 2011 for film. Me and my wife had always visited New Orleans and loved it a lot. And I'm not sure if you or your listeners know, but New Orleans and Atlanta give a lot of tax credits to production companies to film in the South.
Right.
So, probably half of the movies and television shows that you see are either filmed in New Orleans, Atlanta, South Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi. So it's a huge market if you want to start acting because there's not the barrier. You still have to be good, but as far as getting an agent, getting to get auditions, there's not the barrier that there is in LA. It's a little bit easier path.
Uh-huh.
At the same time, they still cast most of the big roles out of Los Angeles. So if you do act out there, it's going to be mostly day playing and smaller roles, but you do get the opportunity that would be much harder to get in Los Angeles. The only difference is for children, because if you think about it, most kids, especially if they're 5, 6, 7, have the same experience no matter where they are.
Right.
A 7-year-old in Los Angeles is about the same on the acting level as a 7-year-old in New Orleans is in Atlanta. So they'll try to cast those, even the large roles, they'll try to cast them locally. Like for instance, for Daddy's Home 1, Scarlett did come from Los Angeles, but Owen's from Atlanta.
Okay.
So, they, cast as locally as much as they can. So we had moved to New Orleans for that reason. We lived there for 7 years, building up our credits, building up our resumes. And it just got to the point where, we'd all done so well that the next step was to move to Los Angeles. So we were actually thinking about moving last summer, and then some family issues came up that we had to that prevented us from moving for a year.
Okay.
And so we stayed in New Orleans for one more year, and then during that time is whenever they announced that they were doing the second Daddy's Home, and she booked it, which worked out really great. It worked out really great. And then made the move here that much easier.
Awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I wish you guys the best, and certainly I hope we see more of all of you on the screen.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye, Didi. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Our thanks to Didi and Dustin for joining us on this episode of Fancounters. Certainly an insightful look into the life of a child star and a view from their parent, which was pretty cool and a little unexpected, I might add. When the interview concluded, I had to ask Didi just one time if she could say that famous line from the movie. I'll play that for you in just a few seconds, but first I want to remind you, you can find us online by going to Facebook and searching for Fancounters. Also subscribe to us on iTunes. If you don't mind, leave us a 5-star review. Let's get our 2018 year off to a good start, and you can help us do that by reviewing our show. Next Friday, we're going to be back with Ellington Ratliff from the band R5, so make sure you catch that, and we'll see you next week.
You're not my dad.